I want to talk about the biggest thing that I've realized that keeps us stuck and suffering. And that is the trap of seriousness. That is the identity we fall into, where we take ourselves and life so seriously that we're bound to suffer. And I think it's one of the biggest factors happening with people that are stuck with chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain, long COVID. It's this overarching seriousness around our symptoms, around the problems of our life, of our identity as being a sick person. You know, it's broad, it's massive, it's in every area of life. But I see this the most in people stuck in these chronic illness states. And I saw it myself, right? That's why I'm comfortable talking about this, because it was such an important thing that I had to address in myself, was realizing that I was taking myself way too seriously, and that was making me miserable. If I look back at the toughest periods in my life, in the periods where I was struggling the most, I was this kind of really serious guy. I'd lost all of my playful energy. I was really repressing that side of me. And I understand where it comes from. You know, a big thing about allowing this side of ourselves back is the seriousness comes from the attempt to avoid discomfort. It comes from the attempt to avoid the emotional repression, the emotions we don't want to feel. When we have a lot of that built up in the system, we have the need to be serious because we have these big burdens that we're carrying, right? I really want to invite you though, no matter your situation, see how can you introduce more joy? How can you introduce more playfulness? How can you laugh at yourself? How can you stop taking yourself so seriously? Seriously, this was such a foundation for me getting out of the stuckness of chronic illness, and just in general, any time in my life where things are really challenging and I start to feel stuck, it's like, let's introduce some more playfulness. Can I just laugh at myself? And again, I'm not denying that we can be in really challenging states, that we can be in really challenging spaces, that we can have a lot of intense, uncomfortable things to work through. I know from personal experience, trust me, I went through states that felt like hell, like honestly. And even though in those states, once this kind of shift had happened in me where I stopped taking myself so seriously, I would allow the suffering to be there. I would allow the struggle to be there. I would allow the part of me that was really, struggling, I would allow it to be there. But at the same time, I would not identify with it. And then there is the space for there still to be kind of a playful attitude at the same time. You know, I could see anger coming up. I could see frustration coming up, and I could just laugh and be like, okay, that's what's here. I don't need to identify that as that. I don't need to become it. I don't need to believe that, the world has completely ruined my life by giving me this challenge. That's what the mind is saying. But it's quite funny, actually, when you can see it as not you. And it allows the space for a real different attitude. So, I remember watching somebody talk with people about chronic fatigue syndrome a while back. And sure, there was pros and cons about the way the person was talking, but she really hit home on this, on how serious the person was taking their situation. And that was really the root of their struggle, right? Again, I'm not saying that you're not facing challenges, but if you hold on to the seriousness and the real intensity of, how shit your situation is, you're going to keep feeling that way, right? So a massive part of this is just, I empathize with people. I promise you, I was in incredibly difficult states, but can you keep this in the back of your mind? Can you see in what way can I stop taking myself so seriously? And often a great indicator that we're taking ourselves too seriously is we feel quite triggered by other people's playful energy, right? I used to get really pissed off with my family members when I was, really serious about my situation, but I was also very serious about politics. I was very serious about the suffering in the world. And that's a good thing, right? But you're going to kind of burden yourself with too much when you take it too seriously. So in that phase, I wasn't really interested in the playfulness of people, and it pissed me off. It actually would irritate me. My mind would be like, wow, these people are immature, that kind of stuff. And all that is an indicator of is you repressing your own playful side. It's you repressing your own that kind of energy. And that's why it pisses you off when other people do it. I can tell you now that you can still want to alleviate suffering in the world, but to be honest, the best place that you can do it from is a place of lightness, a place of joy, a place of playfulness, right? This reality isn't about pure seriousness, getting it right. It's about not knowing. It's about mystery. It's about creativity and playfulness. We're here to explore the possibilities of being alive. And when we take it too seriously, we completely miss the point of this experience of being a human. But again, there's parts of our psyche that need to come to the surface and be explored before we're truly willing to let go of seriousness, right? So I can only talk from this space because I went through the shadow side. I took on the suffering. I acknowledged the suffering, right? And when you acknowledge the suffering, you probably enter into a space of seriousness. So that's why I say, if someone's really concerned about the world, that's fine. But just see that you're actually perpetuating suffering by being too serious and, kind of holding this really, heavy perspective. I'm not judging you, but I want to invite you to introduce joy. Just do whatever you want. Just laugh. Just make a fool of yourself, right? That's the best way to dissolve some ego that is making you suffer, is to humiliate yourself, make a fool of yourself, and see that you don't need to be as serious. It's not the end of the world when you're not the serious character that you thought you were. It is such a relief to walk through life with no need to hold on to any identities, right? It's not a smooth process. So, the suffering will guide you along the way. It will show you where you've gone too much this way or too much that way, right? Like I've had periods where I fixated too much and not caring about any responsibilities. And then it's always just about avoidance of something, right? And once you integrate everything, once you work through all the shadow, all the material that you don't want to feel, you can really just move through things with a sense of lightness and playfulness, right? Everything just becomes an opportunity to experience. So yeah, it's fine if things don't feel like this all the time, but I really want to invite you to keep that in mind. It's like, how can I just jump around, dance, put on your favorite song, watch something that makes you smile. And yeah, again, you don't have to be like that all the time, right? Suffering comes when we believe that is the only perspective, right? That I have to feel good, because the difficult stuff will come. The shadow needs to be integrated. It needs to be allowed. And if it comes up, it means it hadn't been allowed yet, right? If there's ever a problem in your experience, it means because there's something you're believing that shouldn't be there. So, don't fixate in feeling good all the time, but really just see if you can move with a little bit less seriousness. Because people that really stay stuck, they seriously feel the need to defend their identity, to take themselves very seriously. So it doesn't matter if other people kind of don't see things with the same serious perspective as you do. That's part of the problem why people can't relate to what you're going through, is because often you're coming from a place of too much seriousness. And again, I know that this can be taken the wrong way, that it could be like I'm invalidating your struggle. But what I'm really trying to point you to is to let go a little bit of the identity that is clinging to the struggle. It really is a factor. And I'm always just sharing from my own perspective, right? I saw how I identified as the one who needed to suffer, who needed to struggle, because I was afraid to keep letting go. to be nobody without an identity, and the mind have no place to rest. But again, that gives space to freedom. That gives space to no need to defend any identity. What if you didn't have anything to defend? You could literally just be playful, and it doesn't matter what people think. And again, yeah, if you're being a dickhead, like, people can take this too far. It's fine. You will realize that, right? It will become clear in your experience. You will suffer. But I invite you to explore this. How can you introduce more of a playful energy? I literally, like, when I started to come out of the worst period, it was because I just stopped believing the serious thoughts in my mind. I was just like, I'm just going to change my attitude to the situations. I'm really just going to, look at everything in a different light and stop being so serious. And it works wonders on your body's ability to heal, because you're no longer forcing yourself into this negative state all the time. So I hope that's helpful, and just see how you can have a little bit of fun. Just do what you want, and see how the mind will doubt this. The mind will say, no, but my state is too serious. This is too serious. That's too serious. I'm not asking you to overwhelm yourself. I'm asking you to see, in your situation, how can you introduce a little bit more fun, a little bit more lightness. And you'll see how I know people that are unwilling to let go of this because they like the identity of, this will trigger them, me saying that, but I see people who online they want that identity of fighting with people, right? Of being serious and drama, right? Like, you see it online on social media, people going around looking for a fight, looking for drama, to be serious, because it helps that identity thrive. And it's always about a fear of the unknown, right? The reason this will be triggered is because the mind is afraid of letting go of that identity. And if something triggers that, it immediately goes into defense mode. So again, as I always say, if something I'm saying triggers you, explore that. The funny thing is, though, generally when somebody gets triggered, they don't even see I'm being triggered. They see, I feel the need to speak out against what you're saying. And, fine, but I don't, post these videos as a debate forum. So, just see if something triggers you, you feel the need to speak out against what I'm saying. Just see what can this show you about yourself? That's how I recommend using this. That's how I would deal with my triggers. When anybody ever triggered me, I'd be like, okay, sure, maybe I don't agree with what this person is saying, but maybe they don't really give a shit about, like, why I don't like what they're saying. And maybe I can just see, what is this showing me about my own mindset? What is this showing me about my own belief system? Why am I limiting my own beliefs so that this person's saying that, hey, you can let go? Why is that triggering me? So, maybe try that. Alrighty, all the best.